Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I really enjoy getting, I tell you, I kind of get bumps, chills and bumps all over my arms as I get to talk to Robert Kiyosaki, because the guy is kind of a hero of mine. He literally changed my life in terms of financial education, and is why I like to get him on the program whenever possible. He does a phenomenal job. He educates people and takes their financial dreams to the next level. This is The Price of Business, of course. I am your host, Kevin Price, and do want to remind you that the show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. Robert, always glad to talk to you. Let's go in deep. Second chance. First of all, what was the idea behind it? Obviously, the economic landscape played a role, but what were you hoping to accomplish?
Well, Rich Dad Poor Dad is almost 20 years old now, and it's still number one as far as Publishers Weekly goes, number one personal finance book of all times. And a lot of people say it changed their lives, which I'm very happy with. It's all over the world. But I think many people miss lesson one, Rich Dad's lesson number one. And lesson number one is the rich don't work for money.
That's right.
And when people say, well, it's a very confusing subject because you're taught to go to school and get a job and work hard and save money. Well, the reason lesson one, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is that because in 1971, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and then the Federal Reserve Bank took over. So today we have millions of people working hard in business. They're trying to, let's say they lose their job or they want to make more money, but they continue to violate lesson one, which is to make more money. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you've got to make money and then convert your money into an asset that produces cash flow. Now, if you follow that, that's good, because there's three types of income. There's ordinary, portfolio, which is capital gains, and passive, which is cash flow. The rich work for cash flow. So an entrepreneur can't just make a lot of money. They've got to be able to convert their money into either capital gains or cash flow.
Yeah, I always like to say people should not trade time for money. That's what poor people do, is they trade time for money. I love the example you gave of your attorney who, at the time you wrote your book about 20 years ago, was making something like $700 an hour. You wouldn't trade that for anything because that's trading time for money. Get things to actually earn money for you, and that's passive income.
Right, and that's why, and there's many ways you can do it. The financial planners are finally saying, you should invest for dividend, stuff like this. But I always take my money, which I make in business, and I invest in real estate because I use debt then to leverage my cash. Does that make sense to you?
No, it makes perfect sense.
From that, I produce cash flow, and ironically, the more debt I have, the less tax I pay.
Yeah.
But that was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that's second chance, is you have to understand how the rich are getting richer and how the rich pay less taxes. So in Second Chance, you'll actually see pictures and graphs of why the rich are getting richer.
Yes. Kind of like, removing the curtain, right? The mystery, the veil gets removed. And it's so logical. It makes so much sense. All the things that we were told to do, that the employee personality was told to do, was really meant to accommodate the business owners, really to make the business owners and the investors rich, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The tax laws in this country is still made for capitalists.
Yeah.
And then you have guys like Bernie Sanders who admits to be a socialist.
Yeah.
So the moment you say, I want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to go head-to-head with the socialist.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the moment you have employees, holy moly, it's a whole nother bag of worms.
Let me ask you, we've got to wrap it up. Where are some of the events you've got coming up that you want people to be aware of? Well,
go to richdad.com, and there's all kinds of events. But I think the most important thing goes back to lesson number one, which you talked about, is you've got to be careful who you take financial advice from. My poor dad always said, go to school and get a job. And my rich dad always said, you have to learn how to be an entrepreneur. And they're two different skill sets and two different types of education.
Yeah.
That's the big difference.
If you wanted to annually trade 2,000 hours for subsistence existence, just go through school. But if you really want to change your life, you really need to look at becoming an entrepreneur. I believe that. And you really helped pave the way for me. And so this show, to a certain extent, exists because of what you taught me. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. And keep up the good work, Kevin.
You bet. RichDad.com. Make sure you check it out. Robert Kiyosaki, great friend of this show. We want to remind you, this show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com.